Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Mike McClelland. I'm the CEO and President of TERRA Uranium, as well as one of the 5 co-founders of this company. All of us are geologists. We started the company approximately 2 years ago, IPO'd 18 months ago, and since then we are at a drill-ready state on all of our projects. Everything was done in parallel, and so we picked the best of the best out of our portfolio. And I'm proud to tell you this story because it is quite fascinating how we got to this point this quickly. I will be making forward statements, and buyer beware. TERRA Uranium, we're a highly experienced technical as well as commercial team. I'll talk more about that later. Everything that we do is very strategic. We make frameworks of what we want to accomplish and how we want to accomplish those, and act on them very efficiently and quickly. Since we even started the company, we've been engaged with Indigenous populations, and we have consent on our projects. Before we even IPO'd, we had all of our permits in place for the next 3 years, which would take care of more than enough of our exploration activities. Everything that we did in our IPO was geared towards a 2-year frame to get through 120,000 hectares of land and get them to a drill-ready state. We're located in the Athabasca. We want it to be boutique there. We think that grade is king, and that's where we need it to be. Right now we have, I would say, 18 of the world-class Tier 1 uranium targets. We had no idea that we would come up with that many. I thought maybe a handful through all of this process, but we have 18, and it's really more of we're at a bottleneck now because we are deeper in the basin, and it is cost prohibitive. And for a company that has a $10 million market cap, we have to make some pretty hard decisions about how we're going to manage this company going forward without excessive dilution. We have done 1 drill hole on one of our projects. It wasn't much, but more or less it was to ground ourselves to understand that we could operate in this area, and it was successful. And hopefully when I get you through this presentation, you'll understand that we are on the cusp of significant value generation. I think that there's going to be tremendous mineral wealth that will be created through TERRA Uranium, and it's only the beginning. We are the new kid on the block, but we are probably the oldest new kid on the block. We'll talk about our board. Andrew Vigar, he's one of the co-founders. So there was myself, Andrew Vigar, Daryl Clark, who's now gone over to ISO Energy, Trode Boishley, who's part of ATHA, a real solid team of geologists, Doug Engel. We were the ones that created the framework of this business and started it. We also have a very technical team that's very highly competent, all from mainly the Athabasca. Dr. Tom Kotzer, who does most of our geophysics and geoscience. He came out of Cameco as well. He had a career there with geochemistry and looking at deposits and how to really, I guess, jig chemistry to work for yourselves. Invaluable. Kyle Patterson, a second-generation geophysicist out of the Athabasca Basin. He really knows ground EM, and again, invaluable. Jennifer Burgess, considerable success in exploration. She was actually, started her career, she was one of the co-founders of Diavik Diamond Mines. Her and Ira Thomas actually drilled 154 when they found out that it was going to be heavily diamondiferous. She then has been very successful with Snip Gold, Sheer Minerals, and she just came to work for us from Foran. Once things get to a development stage, she has a knack to just disappear. She thrives on exploration. Andrew, this is the third company or fourth company that he's created. Very successful in the gold space, K92, which is a multi-billion-dollar company now. He was a founder of that. Alligator Energy as well. He founded Alligator Energy and worked very hard with Lee Curry. So I asked Andrew, you know, what size of deposit do you want to find? And he said it just has to be bigger than Lee's. So that was sort of one of our key exploration framework is what we were going after. It is a tier 1. And tier 1 for us would be, you know, we're looking for something in the cigar, the MacArthur size that will weather itself through any market, downturns of uranium, and still turn a profit. Since we are very new, our top 20 shareholders own 60% of the company. We don't move very much stock. Everyone holds it, and anytime that we do need money, we are heavily supported by our current shareholders. Again, before we even started the company, we were engaged with Indigenous communities. Andrew and myself think very like-minded about how we should treat First Nations, share our success, and hopefully bring tremendous value to these communities as well. And they appreciate that as well as we are welcomed onto their land. Why we were here. We built this company 100% organically. We started again 2 years ago, started data mining, looking at different areas in the basin, where we wanted to be close to infrastructure, power, previous hits of uranium. It took us quite a bit of time, and again, we're looking for the over 300 million pound beasts out there. And who knows, you know, statistics say that there is a $1 billion pound deposit still in the Athabasca to be found, and we certainly don't think it's going to be found anywhere that has been through the last 3 cycles. So we identified some fertile trends, and we went deeper into the basin. Historically, most of the significant finds have been in the Wollaston domain. That's sort of tipping the 600-meter depths of sandstone. We went out into the Majatic, which we're close to the 900,000 meters, which is very technically challenged. Probably only in the last 15 years have we had the geophysics to see that deep, as well as heli-portable drills that are capable of getting down to those depths. And we proved we can efficiently drill to those depths with a heli-portable drill, but it is expensive. And our exploration framework would resolve the mineral endowment we seek. So right now we have, as I said, we have 120,000 hectares of land that is 100% owned by TERRA Uranium. It's unencumbered in every way. We've spent about $7 million on exploration so far. We call that our sort of groundbreaking amount. Again, we were very strategic of what we wanted to do. We knew we wanted about 100,000 hectares. We knew the beasts that we wanted to try to find and the amount of money that it would take to get to the point where we are drill ready. And we did that all in 18 months. Why are we different? As some of the speakers have spoke about, we put a lot of effort into collecting data. Drilling in the areas that we are in, you're looking at drill holes that are anywhere from $750,000 to $1 million. And for a junior company that has a market cap of $10 million, you can see the problems that we're already facing. So starting out, we started with VTEM, or ZTEM, I'm sorry, which is a deep-looking electromagnetics airborne survey, and from there we found our conductors on our properties. We found approximately 120 kilometers of strike length of conductors on these properties, which we followed up the highest priority ones with VTEM, which is a shallower looking airborne system. And what we tried to do with that was to look at the sandstone profile to see if there was alteration, which would be fluids and hopefully minerals being deposited in the sandstone. We know for a fact that the beasts that we're looking for, do have geochemical signatures to surface, even though they are buried 1,000 meters down. It is not more of a quantitative, but a relative situation that you're looking at. But when we look at the Millenniums, the MacArthurs, the Cigars, if you're getting 2 to 5 ppm on surface and anything, I don't think there's any that go above 10 ppm, you're certainly above something that needs your attention. Another thing that we brought in was helium sampling. Helium is the only source of helium is the natural decay of uranium. If you're getting high helium counts, you are proximal to high-grade uranium. Another technique that we brought in from Australia, which is quite new to the Athabasca, TERRA was the first to bring it over here, is ambient noise tomography. And it's seismic, really. It uses the Earth's energy, whether that's water lapping against the shore, wind, it could be cultural energy, but then you can get a seismic. So it's just another physical property that we use to understand how many bullets do we have in the chamber, to understand, do we have everything in line to find a deposit that is worth billions of dollars. This is our current land holding. As I said, about 120,000 hectares. If you take that package that we have around which we called our Passfield Lake, you can pretty much fit the whole the whole McClelland Lake, Rabbit Lake area. So it's a significant chunk of land. And I guess we were very lucky that when we started the company 2 years ago, we didn't know what was coming. Or when it was coming, we knew that there would be changes in the uranium pricing, but to now get a land package like that in the Athabasca, it's impossible. The Athabasca is completely staked, and if you want to do a deal on a property, people are demanding $600 to $700 per hectare on land that went through 2 cycles, probably had millions of dollars worth of work, and the probability of finding a Tier 1 resource on those properties is very slim, in my mind. And at this point, with 18 drill-ready areas and a $10 million market cap, our success has already superseded the company. And we brought on a new person, Hayden Lynch, who is an investment banker. We're getting less and less of the geology people and starting to get ready for the next, I guess, tier of our growth. So we have 6 active projects. We've done 1 drill hole so far. These strike lengths are, how do you even start? As Drew said, 500 kilometers, where do you start? We had 120. Amplitude is not king. You don't go where it's the strongest. So what we did RC drilling, which would then give you a geochemical profile of about the top 30 meters of the sandstone. And that was our, I guess, it wasn't a pathfinder, it's uranium. It's not, it's telling us if we're over top of something. And that has allowed us to get to our 18 targets. There's lots of areas in the strike length of these corridors that you can go 5-10 kilometers, and we weren't seeing hardly any uranium at surface. And then you bump into these areas that I think we got up to 5 ppm uranium at surface. And remember, these are deposits that are 1,000 meters deep. It's a little bit unnerving when you're in a helicopter and you're flying along and you look down and you're 1,000 meters above the ground, and you're, as Chris said, trying to get a rod the size of your arm down that depth to hit something as wide as this room. It's probably one of the most technically challenged commodities and environments that I have ever worked in globally. You have to be on top of your game to be able to do things at these depths. Again, lots of airborne, ZTEM, VTEM, ANT. We did a couple ground surveys over the hottest areas that we have, getting ready for core drilling. As far as infrastructure goes, we built a camp. 100 kilometers of winter trails were broken last year. A lot of, I would say, the groundbreaking work is done, and hopefully now the fun stuff starts with drilling. Well, it will start. But what do we need? We have 6 projects, and we need probably about $30 million to be able to test these 18 areas. That's where Hayden's coming into the picture to find us a solution to get through these. We're talking about selling equity in our projects. That seems about the most likely solution that we have. We're very active in the Middle East, trying to recruit a suitable partner, but as well as in Europe. Hopefully, farm outs, and as well, we are working on some farm ins that we think that will bring significant value to TERRA Uranium. This is our Passfield project. This is the cornerstone. If you look in that sort of the middle, you see very bright colors at the bottom. That would be your ZTEM response, so very deep-seated conductors. Above that, you see a divoting effect. That would be our ANT, which I'll talk more about. And on top of that, you have a VTEM that goes all the way to surface. And VTEM's usually good for about, let's say, 600 meters. That's about how deep you see. There's something significant going on here that the electromagnetics has been able to couple, and we've been seeing over a kilometer of this into even the basement. So what we think that is we have significant alteration in the sandstone, and this is a big system. What really makes us excited is ANT. We were the first ones to bring this into the basin. ISO Energy has now done it over top of their hurricane deposits and some of their other exploration, and plan to do next summer. They'll be doing it on almost all of their projects. We're seeing pretty much the same thing that they saw over top of hurricane. Hurricane is, let's say, 60%, 50 million pounds, and the size of that anomaly in the sandstone, but also in the basement, is about 1 kilometer. What we're seeing at Passfield is about 6 kilometers long. This is a significant system that we see in all of our physical properties, and ANT has done a wonderful job seeing. If you see that top slide, that what we think that is, it's all silicification and alteration in the sandstone, but also a very large divot that's hundreds of meters in depth, where the bedrock basement has been totally wiped out. Very exciting anomaly. This will take a lot of work to get to the bottom of it, but it will be a game changer for our company. Parker Lake is a little bit different. It's a long linear, bit more classical Athabasca style target. Again, here we have 8 targets. This is probably our second best project, and as you can see there, very high conductivity, but also overlain by uranium at surface, as well as the clay alteration that we're looking for at surface. A lot of legs still on this property. It's 30 kilometers long and 8 more targets to look at. Hawk Rock. I come from a little bit of a background of diamonds. I worked in the diamonds field for about 10 years, 12 years. And when I saw this, from kimberlites, you usually see an indicator train that comes off of your areas that you want to be. This is radiometrics, so it's a 60-kilometer radiometric anomaly that terminates on this project, and proximal to outcrop samples that are as high as 9 ppm, which is probably one of the highest outcrops at surface in the basin next to, I think there's one next to Rabbit Lake, which supersedes that. We did VTEM over this and came out with 4 targets that are coincident with radiometrics, and we'll be following these up as well. In the project portfolio too, we've just staked about 10,000 more hectares, 15,000 more hectares of prospective land, and we'll be looking to work on those as well in the coming months. So we're ready to drill. We're on the cusp of making a major change in our company structure, and there's going to be significant company growth going forward. Thank you.